Hi folks, I brought a couple of my old classics out here today for some props, but I wanted to share some things with so many of you out there that are interested in doing restorations and maybe struggling to get over the hurdle, so to speak. You know, this year the classic car, muscle car, historic car market has softened in a lot of areas of the country. And in fact, it's gone flat in a few places. Now, that's not to say that the specialty cars, the super rare, highly optioned vehicles like the Hemi Chargers and Mustangs aren't still spiking in prices. As a matter of fact, if you go to places like Mecum or Barrett-Jackson, there are people that really aren't related to the auto industry that are bidding exorbitant prices just to add those to their collection. And that keeps those prices high. Haggerty's isn't really a great help either. But you know what is increasing in popularity? Classic trucks from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. They're growing, they're strong, and I think they're only going to get stronger. You know, some people invest in paper, other people invest in oil or in dirt. I invest in precious metals. Welcome to American Outdoors. So the generation that's before me that enjoyed the 30s and the 40s and the 50s rods and street machines, well, they're thinning out. The generation ahead of me that enjoyed the vehicles from the 80s and 90s, they're coming on. And the thing about these old classic trucks is you can drive these things rain or shine, sleet or snow, and they're a lot of fun. And with the resto mods that are being done to these today, you're increasing their comfort, their efficiency, fuel mileage, horsepower, modern creature comforts, and it makes them that much more attractive to the up-and-coming generations. Well, one of the first things I would suggest is when you're out looking at old projects like this, look for ones that run and roll. You'll be happy you did so. Your wife will be happy you did so, especially when you're having company. And that vehicle that you've got that you're supposed to be working on that's parked beside the garage or the shed, well, you can start it up and get it inside before company arrives. You know, there's plenty of guys and gals out there, just like me. You've got one project or you've got 10 or more than that, and you're struggling to try and find the time and the desire to get something done and to get them out on the road where you can enjoy them and be proud of them. And Facebook Marketplace is just full of listings that say, too many projects, need to get rid of some. When the truth is, they're probably just tired of looking at it. So the question many of you might be asking is, how do I get done with a project? How do I get through all the work without getting burned out? How do I get it back on the road where I can enjoy it? In a previous life, I was an ASC certified master tech mechanic. That was my forte. I am not a body man. I never was a body man, and I hate body work. It's tedious, it's monotonous. You can work on sanding and grinding and filling dents and cutting out rust holes and step back 3 hours later and it really doesn't look like you've accomplished much. But the key is whether the body work is going to take you 20 hours or 120 hours. Even if you come home and you can do a half hour here or 45 minutes there, you're knocking that 120 down. And over time, you are going to see results, and over time, it will help motivate you. But the key is taking that first step and getting out there and making things different, making things change, making progress, and just pushing ahead. And if it does run, instead of being parked out into your tree line, you don't have to make excuses for when you're going to get something new done to it. And at least if you've got your truck running, you can make it look like you're getting something done, right? Now, to be clear, today's video is geared towards the DIYer, the guy on a budget, the gal on a budget, Lunchbox Joe and Jane. I understand there's a lot of folks out there that have disposable income and they can pretty much do things or have somebody do things for them the way that they choose. We don't want to let perfection get in the way of enjoying our rides. You know, I'll be honest with you, when I go to truck shows, and we've got several videos from car and truck shows on our channel, my camera tends to veer off when I see some of these old DIY projects, original trucks, original cars, maybe the paint's faded. Not necessarily the Poppy's patina crowd, but stuff where you know the guy drove 400 miles to get there, he's getting about 8 miles a gallon and used about 3 quarts of oil, but he's proud of it. Maybe it's got some rust or a little Bondo or the tires are a little long in the tooth. I appreciate cars like that because these folks aren't afraid to get them out of the garage. They get them going regardless of the shape they're in, and they get them to the show. That the people have done the best they can with what's in their pocket. Now, a good example of what I'm talking about is this truck right here. This is the 1980 GMC Sierra Grande K15. I've had this for many years, and I've never done really anything to the outside. It's rusted front, back, top, and bottom. And I've made sure to keep the motor and the drivetrain, brakes, tires, and all that in tip-top shape. So money has gone into this. However, it's just now we are getting around, and we're going to be next week changing out the body panels and getting this thing ready to paint. And it's going to be a whole new looking truck here in about a month. But if I'd let this sit parked off somewhere waiting for that someday, who knows when that would have been. But in the meantime, I've had a chance to enjoy this and get out and make it useful. It's done work for me here around the homestead. And, you know, we go to the lumber store, the co-op, whatever, hauling lumber, feed, hay bales, drywall. I love a long bed. Getting your restoration to the finish line can become an ever-growing hurdle when you're trying to go it alone. And I don't just mean the actual physical work. I'm talking about a support system. Restoring an old truck can be a massive, multi-year journey full of frustrating dead ends and unanswered questions, mistakes, mental fatigue, and moments where you just want to push that truck back into the corner of the shop and quit. That's exactly why connecting with a community of truck nerds can make all the difference. When you surround yourself with other like-minded enthusiasts, you'll gain motivation, some connections, accountability, and a support system that keeps this project moving even when the going gets tough. Online communities are an incredible starting point. Internet forums, Facebook groups, classic truck-specific sites that are packed with guys, they've already solved the exact problems you're facing. Whether that's tracking down rare pieces, locating the best quality reproduction parts and the suppliers, troubleshooting, hacks, learning shortcuts, finding the right shade of factory paint. You need go-to sources where you can ask questions, where you can share your progress or just vent and get honest feedback. Having that kind of network will save you money, time, and your sanity. And whenever possible, connect in person. Join a local classic truck club, hit up car shows, swap meets, even those cars and coffee mornings. There's nothing like having the luxury of a couple of buddies show up and help drop a transmission, or just stand around with a cold drink, talking you through your next steps and planning. These real-life connections help keep you fired up. They'll spark new ideas, and they'll constantly remind you why you started this journey in the first place. Build your crew online and in real life. It might be the single most important factor in crossing the finish line. So don't let perfect ruin your fun. The hard truth is, vehicles like this that just sit and don't get worked on, they become an anchor around your leg, a ball and chain around your neck. They drag you down, they're a monkey on your back, but it gets to the point where you come home from work and you see the truck over there in the corner looking at you, and you just hold your hand up until you get to the house, because you don't want to deal with it anymore. And when I go back to Facebook Marketplace, for example, there are so many vehicles in there that say, too many projects, must sell. Well, maybe the truth is that for a lot of those, it's not that there's too many projects, there's just not enough desire to do it. And that's something that can be fixed. I mean, that's something that you can turn around, and you don't have to sell these vehicles for a loss, maybe because your spouse ran out of patience or you simply lost that desire. So often it's a case of too many projects, maybe not enough time, or maybe not enough effort to make the time. And the truth in many of these cases is that a lot of us just fear that we're not going to be able to complete the job to the level that we had inside of our head. We picture how we want this vehicle to look. This old truck is going to look like this when I'm done. But deep down we think, I don't have the skills, I don't have the knowledge, or I don't have the money to make it look like that truck that was on YouTube or on a magazine. But I do appreciate high gloss, water on glass looking paint. However, I'm not afraid to spray a single stage enamel right over that, put some clear coat on it, and hit the road, because it doesn't bother me if a cat jumps on that. It doesn't bother me if I throw some lumber in the bed and I nick the paint a little bit. That's what I want these trucks for. I'm going to enjoy them much more when I'm on the road driving them and experiencing them than I will once every couple months when a buddy comes over and we pop a beer and walk into the shop and kick the lights on and stand around it in a circle. Something else that's overlooked as well, and I think most of us are smart enough that we can add up the cost. When we look at a vehicle, we can think in our head, and later we can put it down pencil to paper, how much it's going to cost to get that thing up on the road and where we'd want it to be. And unfortunately, the one thing most of us overlook more often than not is the value of our time. You know, you can sell a vehicle and you can say, well, I got 10,000 in it, but how long did it take you to invest that 10,000? How long did it take you to do the body work? You know, a paint job, even a average paint job from a body shop is going to be $5,000, $10,000. You do it yourself and you think, well, I did it for $400, just like on that YouTube video. But how long did it take you to do that? That's worth something. And if you factor that into the car, then you realize what the total cost is. There's another thing that I think is relevant, and this goes to investing in these trucks or flipping them, which I have done plenty of times. My opinion is that you'll make your money when you buy them, not when you sell them. The problem arises, and you'll see this on Marketplace often, where say you're looking for an old square body and somebody's got one on there, it's sitting on the trailer, it hasn't even had the ratchet straps taken off. Went to somebody's farm, paid the widow $500 for this old C10 square body, drug it out from under the tree row and took it to a local gas station, took their pictures, put it online. Let's say they paid $500 and they're going to sell it. They're going to ask $1,200. All right, that's easy money. They'll likely get it, whether it's for parts or scrap or whatever. They'll make their money. But let's say they put a set of tires on it. What's it worth then? Let's say they put a motor in it. What's it worth then? An old rusted C10 in that kind of condition, at best, you're going to get dollar for dollar. So you keep investing a dollar, you might, if things go right, get that dollar back. Now, on the other hand, let's say for an example, a 72 K5, because those are really high up in the market. They're really desirable vehicles. So a 72 K5 Chevy Blazer. Let's say you find one that's an absolute rust bucket for 10 grand. You might have to put 25 in it so it looks decent and something you can be proud of. So you've got 35,000 in it. Well, how much are you going to ask? You're going to ask 35,000? Then you're matching dollar for dollar. Maybe you'd have been better off dragging it out of the tree row and making your money then. Now, I'm not saying that that's what people should always do, but I'm trying to make it clear to those people that if you're not adding your time into the vehicle, you think maybe you're making a little bit of money. But when you add your labor, you better enjoy what you're doing. I don't know very many people that are getting rich buying and selling these old classics. So don't let fear and don't let a lack of confidence in what you're doing stop you from getting these done. You know, I said I was a former ASC certified mechanic, so I worked on these all the time. However, I never painted a car back then. Scared to death of it. I thought there was some magic. I never saw a car even painted. I thought they just went into a booth. You had to have special skills, special techniques, tools, all that. No, you didn't. You know, we live in an age now where you can go on YouTube and there's guys painting cars and doing quality work using electric sprayers, Wagner power painters. It's amazing what people can do with just a few tools and ambition over talent and skill. The thing is, don't let things stop you because you don't think you know how to do it, you can't afford to do it right now, or you don't know anybody that can help you. Just do it. You know, the best truck to start on is one that's mostly complete, or mostly there, not one that comes in a box of parts. That's the thing about these two vehicles that interested me when I bought them. Most of the body panels were still the same color. This thing, neither truck had been butchered. They weren't Franken trucks. They weren't customized to the owner's own idea of what he wanted. They're mostly original, as original can be for 60-year-old trucks. When you get into a truck that's been torn apart and modified, well, pretty soon, you don't know what the bolts were that were supposed to hold this in. You don't know, how do I find weather stripping or these moldings or the bezels? Where do I find certain parts? And if you don't know how they go in or where they go in or what they're supposed to look like, it can turn into a real headache and a nightmare, especially if you don't know where to source good quality parts. And that's a problem these days because Chinesia loves to sell us parts, and they've gotten so bad, it's to the point where if I order something for these trucks or any of the projects in my shop that aren't American made, which is really hard to find, brand names, there's like a fail ratio of maybe 50% or more. It's gotten what I would consider to the point of it's alarming. And it's really frustrating when you have to put work in to install these parts. You wait for them to arrive, then you go through the trouble of having to install them, and then they fail and you've got to return them. And you wonder pretty soon, hey, you know, if I'm buying all this stuff on Amazon and returning it, they're going to flag me. Well, that's where we're at. So if you're looking at trucks, best case scenario, I would take one that's just, it might look rough. It might not be what you would want originally, but if it's all there, it's going to be a lot easier than trying to piece something together that's been used for parts, stripped, or somebody got tired of the project and then just put everything in the back and sold it as is. So what is it to prevent you from getting your projects out on the road? Well, a lot of times it's unrealized expectations. It's lack of preparation. It's not knowing your actual cost until later. It's letting them sit and stagnate and demoralizing you until you lose the motivation to want to finish them. That can be beat just by habits, doing little things that makes progress, anything that makes it look different. But focus on one thing. If you've got a running truck, make sure it's running strong, and then go to something else. Don't do a little bit of body work, a little bit of suspension work, a little bit on the interior. Don't tear everything down and throw it in the corner where you're going to forget where everything went in 6 months. Have a plan. Take small steps, incrementalize, do things that you understand first, that's easy, that helps you to get over a hump, get a step forward, and make progress. But most of all, stay in a routine and don't let up. Continue to come out here and hit it. And, you know, eventually you will see a light at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope it's been informative. Please like and subscribe. Post comments below if you agree or disagree with me, or you've got something else to add. I always like to read them. Anyway, from us here at American Outdoors, thank you for watching, folks, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.